Justice is the first virtue of social institutions. Each person possesses an inviolability founded on justice that even the welfare of society as a whole cannot override. The fairest rules are those to which everyone would agree if they did not know how much power they would have. Justice is the constant and perpetual will to render to each one his due. The basic structure of society should be arranged so as to benefit the least advantaged members. Social and economic inequalities are to be arranged so that they are both reasonably expected to be to everyone's advantage and attached to positions and offices open to all. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We should aim for a just society, but we must also acknowledge that our knowledge is limited, and the pursuit of justice requires ongoing deliberation and refinement. The principles of justice are chosen behind a veil of ignorance, where no one knows their place in society, their talents, or their fortune. The difference principle requires us to focus on the well-being of the least advantaged members of society. Justice is the first virtue of social institutions, as truth is of systems of thought. To be rational is to follow rules and principles consistently, even if one's interest or desires pull in another direction. The principles of justice are agreements we would make if we were to create a fair society from scratch without knowing our own individual place within it. Each person possesses an inviolability founded on justice that even the welfare of society as a whole cannot override. The concept of justice is the concept of fairness, and fairness is interpreted as equality. The basic liberties of citizens are to be protected as equal political liberties. The just society is not one in which the interests of some are satisfied at the expense of others. It is a society in which each citizen's interests are given equal consideration. In a just society, citizens cooperate with one another on terms that are fair to all. The aim of justice is to establish the conditions under which all individuals have a fair opportunity to pursue their own conception of the good life. A just society is one in which the rules and institutions benefit all its members, especially the least advantaged. Justice is not about charity or benevolence, but about creating a fair and equitable social order. The principles of justice are derived from the rational choices we would make behind a veil of ignorance. Justice is a matter of fairness, not of brute luck. A just society is one that ensures equal access to education, healthcare, and other essential services. The principles of justice must be applied universally, without favoritism or discrimination. The pursuit of justice requires us to challenge and question existing power structures. A just society is one that treats all individuals as equals, regardless of their social or economic status. Justice is not about achieving a particular outcome, but about the fairness of the process. A just society is one in which everyone has an equal say in the decisions that affect them. Justice demands that we take into account the perspectives and interests of all members of society. The principles of justice should guide our individual actions as well as our collective institutions. Justice requires us to address the root causes of poverty and inequality. A just society is one that guarantees basic rights and liberties to all individuals. Justice is not about absolute equality, but about ensuring that inequalities are justified and beneficial to all. The just distribution of goods is not a matter of charity, but of right. Justice is the virtue that makes social institutions work for the benefit of all. A just society is one that recognizes and respects the equal moral worth of all individuals. Justice requires us to go beyond our narrow self-interest and consider the needs and aspirations of others. A just society is one that provides a fair opportunity for individuals to develop and exercise their capabilities. The principles of justice must be based on a reasonable and rational consensus. Justice demands that we strive for a society where no one is denied their basic needs. A just society is one that balances individual freedom with the common good. The pursuit of justice requires us to address the systemic injustices embedded in our social structures. Justice is not about absolute equality, but about mitigating the disadvantages faced by the least fortunate. The distribution of goods and opportunities should be such as to benefit all members of society, not just a privileged few. Justice requires us to challenge and overcome the biases and prejudices that perpetuate inequality. A just society is one that values and protects the fundamental rights and liberties of its citizens. Justice is not a fixed destination, but an ongoing process of striving towards a fairer society. The principles of justice must be grounded in a respect for the diversity and pluralism of individuals. Justice requires us to recognize and rectify the injustices of the past. A just society is one that ensures the fair distribution of the social and economic benefits produced by collective cooperation. The principles of justice should guide our personal and political choices in the pursuit of a better world. Justice is not an abstract concept, but a lived reality that shapes our social interactions and institutions. A just society is one that upholds the principle of reciprocity and treats all individuals with dignity and respect. The principles of justice should guide the design and implementation of economic institutions to ensure a fair distribution of wealth and opportunities.